you didn't witness, you are going to witness that happened up in New York City. As you guys know, that is my city. That is the town of my birth. I was born in New York City. My parents were born in New York City. And although I'm not an NBA fan, I'm quite familiar with the losing track record of our dear old New York Knicks. Listen, it is what it is. New York City is great, and we are known for a lot of things. But it's been over 50 years since we've been able to brag about an NBA championship. So I thought it was strange that, it was the way we won that game. It was almost the providence of God. It was like impossible to come back from such we were behind, if I'm not mistaken, 30 points. So to come back from that and to pull off a win in game 5 of the NBA Finals, y'all, I'm sorry. That is something to brag about. That is absolutely something to celebrate. But instead of a celebration of victory and of just glorying in the fact that we persevered with skill, not DEI, but skill, and instead of us celebrating that, something very, very unfortunate and dark happened that I believe is reflective of this flashpoint that we are in as it relates to two different Americas. So if you saw on the thumbnail, on one side, I showed the school bus, or one of the school buses that was set on fire in New York City in Times Square during the celebration of the win of the basketball game. And then on the other side of the thumbnail, I showed you guys a picture of our great president, Donald Trump, with his good friend, Dana White, who is the founder and owner of the whole UFC sports franchise. And I also showed imagery of the Star Spangled Banner being sung at said UFC fight. Y'all, I don't think we understand. 2026, the United States of America, we are about to celebrate 250 years of our nation's existence. You guys, we are still a very young nation. 250 years. It's not like the Chinese dynasty where they've got, no centuries of being in existence. We are barely 250 years old. And so by God's providence, this nation was founded, and we're still, we're still in our infant stages. But it's sad to see what America is becoming because we've been infiltrated, you guys. We're in the middle of a smokeless war, and I don't think many of us realize it. So I'm going to break it down tonight in terms of what you witnessed and how there are absolutely two Americas, and only we can decide which America we want to be. So I want to welcome everybody to the live stream tonight. If you've not done so already, please hit the like button on your way in. It is free. I don't ask for much, but I do ask for those likes. We over here, likes are important because it is just this, it's one small signal. It's a way that you can let YouTube know that content like this is valuable. And when content is valuable, YouTube does what YouTube does. And it's like, well, wait a minute. We need to farm this out to more people. And so we want more people to discover this channel, and we want more people who are like-minded like us. We want to be able to find our tribe. So many of you are new here, and I'm glad that you're here. And hopefully you'll be able to participate in tonight's discussion, and we'll just be able to discuss what we're going to watch. And I will leave you with some biblical exhortations, but we absolutely do. We need to analyze the foolishness that happened in New York City last night. So the last thing I wanted to mention in the pre-show, I like to entertain you, and I played two videos. The first one was a musical rendition of the Star Spangled Banner, which was arranged by a local artist here in Metro Atlanta, and I absolutely love that rendition of the Star Spangled Banner because every time I hear it, I saw someone in a live chat say how it's so cool to listen to something like that after a busy Monday. But more important than that, I always use that as an opportunity to reflect on how God has been so gracious to this nation. And although we are not perfect, and flaws and all, and sins and transgressions and all, that song, although it is not theological in nature, it does kind of give me goosebumps because it reminds me of how grateful I am to be born in the greatest nation on earth. But unfortunately, in light of what has been happening and the cultural changes that are rapidly happening before us, we don't know how long we'll be able to hold on to this constitutional republic that we have. And then the video after the Star Spangled Banner I played was a reel from my upcoming documentary that I'm executive producing along with Vince Everett Ellison, who is the director and producer. And I mean, this is his brainchild. It really is his project, but I'm so grateful to be a part of it. We are crowdfunding for a film called Slavery is a Choice. And although the title is very inflammatory and it is designed to make you clutch your pearls, I am hoping that so many more of you would support us in this effort. We are trying to release this film in August of 2026. That is this summer. And you guys, we are making such great progress, and we're able to do so because of donors like you. So I hope you enjoyed that reel, and it makes you reflect back on the 250 years that this nation has been founded. The reason why we are enjoying the inalienable rights that have been given to us by God is because back then in 1776, there were some brave men who stood up to the tyranny of King George and said, "We will not be your slave. We are free men. And so you're going to have to come and take it because we're not bowing down and giving you another inch, not another further, sir." And so that is part of the sentiment that we plan to convey in the film Slavery is a Choice. And I'm hoping you partner with us in that project. Now that we've got that out the way, the first thing I want to do is I just want to show y'all this. It's real short. It's a clip of last night's UFC fight. Donald Trump, y'all know he's a master marketer. He is all things big and shiny. Like when he does something, he does it big. And if you know anything about Donald Trump, you know he absolutely loves America. Like he is doing what he is doing because he is thinking about the legacy and the nation that he is going to leave to his progeny, his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren. And so to celebrate America's 250th, this was one of many events that he has put on. And I just want to give you an insight as to what was going on in Washington, D.C. last night before the UFC fight. If you saw it already, just sit back and relax. This is a really short clip, but I want you to watch this and take it all in. And then we're going to come back and talk about it. I don't know how you watch that and you don't get goosebumps, a huge sense of gratitude and thankfulness to God above, and just a national pride that you've never felt before. As I was listening to that, I saw some miserable, probably in a ratchet tang or a pavement ape, who wanted to come by the channel and put a thumbs down. It's because, listen, I I don't know why you don't have joy in your heart and you want to come over here and infect my live stream with your miserable, imbecilic behavior. But not only do we have the joy of the Lord over here, we are kind of just enjoying each other. Like, this is a place, if you are an American, regardless of your ethnic expression, you can come and enjoy like-minded fellowship, wonderful commentary. Y'all know I'm going to bring some humor, and we're just going to make it do what it do. But you've got people, and I'm kind of glad that happened, because it points to the larger or broader problem of people in this nation who they breathe our oxygen, they use our resources, but they're so ungrateful and they're so disrespectful. And I'm trying to figure out, if you hate this country so much, when are y'all leaving? Right? Like, I did a video earlier today. It was part 2 to the video I did the other day, talking about, since there's so many of y'all, it ain't just blacks. It's a whole lot of white liberals that have this sentiment too. Oh, I got some smoke for them too. I'm trying to figure out, when are y'all gonna get your boat or your plane or whatever, make a pit stop to Europe so you can take those progressive white liberals and drop them off in Europe somewhere, and then proceed on your voyage back to Wakanda? Like, we just want all y'all to go, because the national divorce that we're going to talk about tonight, it feels so imminent, because it is obvious that you sit and you watch that, and you saw those fighter jets, and you see these men standing tall and brave, and then a president who, yes, he is not perfect. He's ghetto and he's petty, but he's our president, and he is actively working hard to help us hold on to this constitutional republic that was given to him. And yet you still have people who can't articulate why they actually hate him. They can't point to the policy. They may disagree on the manner or the method, but they hate this country so much that they would want to see it fail and see themselves have to fail too, just so they can say, I told you so. They can't celebrate something like this. This is too joyous of an occasion for them to be happy and celebrate. I don't even watch UFC fighting. I haven't seen this fight. I can't nail one UFC fighter, but I don't care. You know why? Because it's about the founding of America. And we were celebrating 250 years of us being great. Yes, America is great. And if you don't think so, I'm trying to figure out why. Why are you still here? Take your money, get your passport, and go. But you can't. You know why? Because you will not be able to find another nation on this earth that allows you to enjoy so many of the rights and privileges that you take advantage of and that you take for granted. You can't find another nation that would allow you to do that. And so, from your perch of privilege, you sit back and you talk trash about this nation. But if we dropped your behind over there in Iran, you'd be begging for us to come and get you. Yes, you would. You'd be just like Brittany Renner when her weed smoking behind was stuck over there in Russia. She was like, I'm sorry. I hadn't meant all them things I was saying. I just want to go home. And we were like, do you? Why should we let you come back? You'll end up just like that. It always happens. Talk to anybody that's ever served in the military. Oh, they'll talk about the travels and their exploits and how they enjoyed it here and enjoyed it there. But at the end of the day, they're like, listen, there is no place like America. Germany was nice. Thailand, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, all of it beautiful. It's great, but it's not America. And I was ready to go home. And so I wanted you to see that. because not only are we going to contrast, this was just the pomp and circumstance at the beginning of the fight. Oh, and then I didn't say play, I said be quiet. No. This is just a pan of the audience. Look at this. Nobody's fighting. The symbol of America, the bald eagle, everybody's cheering. It's clean. Listen, it looks safe. I don't see anybody fighting. What is that? Are those chants of USA I hear? I'm like, look at this. What a fine crowd of just civilized people all gathered for one purpose. We just want to watch a fight and celebrate America. Like, for once, nobody wants to be reminded of how racist they are, how much they hate this group, hates that group. We just all want to gather around and watch some people beat each other's brains out. I'm saying, okay, am I saying that that's something Americans should be doing? If that's your thing, that's your thing. I mean, I'm not really into UFC. Like I told you, I can't name not one UFC fighter. Okay, it's a new sport to me, but heck, just for the celebration of it all, I'm going to cheer and clap. God bless America. God bless y'all. Good night. This is vastly different from what happened up in New York City. So the question is, what happened, April? What happened in New York City? What are you talking about? Well, I'm embarrassed to report on my city of birth, but it is what it is. It's not the city that I once knew. New York finally got a reason, to celebrate after 53 years of basketball heartbreak. I mean, we've been down bad. I remember in the 90s when we were constantly in the championship with the Chicago Bulls, and we just knew we just knew we were gonna win. And I'd come back to school every day like we didn't win. Like the Chicago, it was like a three-peat. It was like 80, 89, 90, 91, or was it 90, 91, 92? I mean, we just kept getting right close to the edge and we could just never get across the finish line. That's when I used to watch basketball. I was probably in middle school. I'm telling my age. Anyway, whatever. Listen, 53 years of basketball heartbreak. And what did parts of the city do? Y'all, these pavement apes set buses on fire, attacked the police, they smashed property, they turned victory into mayhem and chaos. I don't know what kind of passion that is, what kind of joy that drives you to do that, but it was none of those things, y'all. This was a cultural diagnosis. When I'm going to show y'all, we're going to take a look at it, but when a city marinates in cultural Marxist policies and soft on crime policies, all of the victimhood theology and just this contempt for basics like law and order, even a simple celebration. I mean, this was something to celebrate. 53 years of y'all losing and y'all finally win. This turns into destruction. A healthy civilization, they celebrate things like buildings and monuments. But a clue that your society is decaying and that your civilization is on the brink of extinction is when it celebrates by burning buses. Y'all, we are watching two Americas emerge. One America believes that liberty requires virtue and law and order and self-government and accountability. And the other America believes every time you set a boundary, it's oppression, right? Every criminal, no matter what they've done, they just misunderstood. Him didn't do nothing. Police officers are painted as villains, and every mob, it's a movement, right? So at some point, we can't keep pretending that these two visions can peacefully govern the same civilization without one devouring the other. So let's take a look. I've shown y'all what the UFC fight was doing. Now we're about to watch what was happening over at, give me a second. I'm about to show y'all this other clip. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I know you're lying. This is not a real place. This can't really be happening. Give me a second. I'm going to find it. It's around here somewhere. Okay, here we go. All right, here's one clip. Y'all, listen. How do you coexist with people like this? And hear me clearly, this is not a black thing or a white thing. There are all kinds of people in this crowd acting a whole fool, showing their whole entire tail. See, what y'all don't understand, but cultural Marxism, it's not black, right? This culture, it is anti-God, anti-Christian, and that can come in a myriad of persuasions. This is what it looks like when you have a city that embraces leaders and policies that are shaped by socialists and anti-policing and anti-capitalist and grievance-based ideology. You shouldn't be shocked when the disorder becomes normalized. Think about it. The worldview that undergirds this is anti-capitalist. So these people, this ain't their stuff. So to them, to hell with it. They didn't earn it. They didn't work to provide for it. They don't see how, wait a minute, these school buses are provided by taxpayer funds. That's my money. Why would I damage and destroy a school bus in celebration of the New York Knicks winning the championship in Game 5? Like, if you would have told me 3 days ago, you know, up in New York, right, when they celebrate, you know how I like the parade, when it's all the debris in the street from the confetti and stuff, yeah, that's going to be the least of their problems. You're going to have a bunch of idiots in the street tearing up stuff. Oh, it gets worse. This was just the destruction of the buses. Okay, you got to see, oh, I mean, these scholars, they take it next level. They really do.
I know, we ain't trying to do that. Y'all fucking on my check. Looking at my paycheck. Looking at my paycheck. Looking at my check. Y'all know what's coming on my check. Fuck up, bro.
So y'all see how they turning on him. This guy apparently, and I could be wrong, I'm assuming he might be the bus driver or an employee. He's like, yo, this is coming out of my check. These idiots like, we don't care. We don't care. This is the envy and the covetous nature that undergirds cultural Marxism. It doesn't matter. And you're like, April, well, why are you saying this is cultural Marxism? Let me explain something. This city is now governed by Zohran Mamdani. He is a self-avowed socialist. He aligns himself with the Democratic Socialists of America. So Zohran Mamdani, no, he didn't light that bus on fire. Y'all gonna see the buses are gonna get set on fire. But the worldview that he represents, it helps create the moral climate where people like this believe that chaos, this is a form of self-expression, right? Now, there's nothing to protest, but this destruction is protest. And they don't mind doing it, knowing they're on camera and being recorded, because law enforcement is the enemy anyway. And this is public property, so it don't really belong to nobody. We're communists. This belongs to everybody. So if Mamdani has publicly described himself as a democratic socialist and has noted his affiliation with the Democratic Socialists of America, his platform, y'all, is free buses, free rent, free city-owned grocery stores. There's this public safety approach that, forget, we're not gonna call the police when stuff like this happens. We're gonna work with the social workers. My question is, where are the social workers? First of all, where was Mamdani? If I'm not mistaken, he was out celebrating. But this is what the cultural Marxist wants. No, we don't need police. We're going to defund the police. If you listen to people like Mark Lamont Hill, he's a Marxist. He absolutely believes we should abolish the police. How do you share a country with people who think like that, who want to abolish the police, which means these people are anti-law and order? They have such a skewed worldview of reality that they believe that filthy, wretched, sinful people can govern themselves in such a way that they don't need their lawlessness restrained by a law enforcement officer, but that the social worker, I guess, can give them a little therapy and rub them on the back and everything is going to be okay. This is wild to me. How do the Knicks win their first championship in over 50 years? And instead of civic gratitude and order and celebration, you have parts of the crowd that turn the whole city into a low-budget Purge sequel. How did we get here? Y'all, I am told that it was a total of 5 school buses that were burned or damaged. We didn't even get to the fire yet. We didn't even get to the fire. Let's see, is the fire in this clip? Nope, the fire's not in this clip. Let's find the fire. Oh, there's a picture of the fire. That's a fire. I mean, they proud of that. They are really proud of that. Then you have this woman, someone just decides to jump on her truck.
Sounds like you something.
They are chanting, "Let's go Knicks," while they are standing on somebody else's truck. This is unbelievable. Let's see if I can find the blaze. Now, you might be asking, why at a celebratory event like this, we're supposed to be celebrating the win of, the NBA team, that the bus says F ice? Huh? Oh, what does ice have to do with anything pertaining to basketball? Nothing. Yeah, that's what I thought. But this is telling you who and what we're dealing with. I'll keep going. Y'all got to find this fire. Let me see. Let me go to my my bookmarks. I know I bookmarked it. It's around here somewhere. Where, I don't know. Maybe it's in this one. Now, I'm showing these clips. These are just clips surveying the actual damage that was done during all of this. I was trying to find the fires. We already looked at that one. Did we look at that one? Let me see. Nope. I don't know what I did with the clip. Don't worry about it. Y'all get the general gist and idea of what has happened. I am highlighting this because I want you to see. I mean, is it me or are we living in two separate Americas? You have one America that can gather lawfully, celebrating America's 250th anniversary and commemorating that in the form of a UFC fight, right? And we're singing the Star Spangled Banner. You've got the fighter jets. I mean, Trump did it big. Nobody set no one on fire. No one got arrested. I mean, we're just happy, right? And then you have contrast that with Mamdani's New York City, the socialists, the Marxists, the communists, where 5 school buses get damaged, officers injured, people arrested. I believe a teenager was shot in the foot. This is not celebration, okay? This is not, we were just happy and things got a little out of control. This is a city whose moral immune system, you guys, it is compromised. It's sick. It is absolutely sick. So my question is this the beginning of a national divorce? What do we do with these democratic enclaves, these cities that have been overrun and overtaken, or should I say, infiltrated from within by these Marxists and these communists? This has always been the goal. They've always said, we will destroy America without firing a single shot. They've always known that this was the method and the manner in which they would do it. Well, we are here now. This is the part in the timeline. We're here. Yeah, we're there now. And then the question becomes, how do we sustain a nation trying to live amongst people like this, who believe that it is lawful and expedient to set school buses on fire, beat up people, shoot somebody, all in celebration of the Knicks win? I would hate to see what happens if they win next year. I mean, what are we going to do with the All-Star game? All of the key players, right? I mean, that's a level of joy and celebration that it might be too much to contain. We don't know what will happen. So let me grab some of these super chats. Let's do that first. The first one came from Chris Creative. So good to see you, friend. Chris said, I saw an older Black woman at the National Archives with her nephew visiting the Constitution in D.C. And she was in tears saying, this wasn't written for me. Why? Why are we like this? This is sad. Let me tell you why we're like this. It is no different than after Adam listened and hearkened to the voice of his woman, Eve, and decided to go get them some fig leaves and cover themselves up because they knew they was naked. And God is looking, he in the cool of the day looking, and he's calling Adam. And he's like, Adam, where art thou? And Adam's like, what had happened was I hid myself because I was naked. And God is like, who told you that you were naked? Right? The question that we need to ask ourselves, Chris, is who told us that Constitution wasn't written for us? Now, there's a couple of ways that we can engage with that sentiment. It is sad that she believes that. And it's because the vantage that American history has been told it has been through a lens of not, and this is why my film, Slavery is a Choice, is so important. Because when you actually study history and you know that George Washington would not have won the Battle of Yorktown without the contributions and the participation of the 1st Rhode Island Regiment. It was a regiment that included blacks who George Washington is like, look, we're in this battle. We are trying to fight for our freedom. It is victory or death. And we are low on men. And if you're a slave, if you want your freedom, come fight for it and we'll give it to you. And you had black men that raised their hand and said, I'll go. Send me. And it was one of his most successful regiments. When I see the Constitution of the United States and I reflect on the verbiage, matter of fact, where is my, it's upstairs on my nightstand. When I reflect back on the words from our founding fathers, I think about the 1st Rhode Island Regiment, and I absolutely lay claim to the American birthright and the American heritage that is mine, because they fought for it. Now, you also had some who, for whatever reason, chose not to fight. But the blood of the 1st Rhode Island Regiment was spilled and shed on this here terra firma. And so this nation is just as much mine as it is theirs. Does that mean that this country does not have a sketchy past of slavery? Yes, we do. However, my question is, if the fathers of the American Revolution could fight for their independence from King George, what stopped the enslaved African from rising up, right, and recognizing, oh, I got to teach this master that I was born free, that my rights come from God, that government doesn't confer my rights, and if you think you can own me as a slave, I can show you better than I can tell you. See, people don't like this kind of talk because what happens, a film like Slavery is a Choice removes every excuse and crutch that we've relied on to say we didn't have a choice. None of this is our fault. They came and they picked us up and they brought us over here and there was nothing we could do about it. And it's not true, because over 100,000 slaves decided, yes, they decided that they would die than to be somebody's slave. And they chose, and they were slaves no more. We wouldn't have a Frederick Douglass unless somebody woke up one day and decided, that's the last time you gonna beat me. If you don't teach your former master that you are free, using the sword and the bayonet, don't be surprised when they subjugate you and rule over you with such arbitrary sway. That is what George Washington declared when he said, listen, this kingdom lost his mind, okay? We are not going to allow them to rule over us like they do those blacks. Look, don't be mad because he said it. Be mad that you like, well, wait a minute, is he talking about me? Well, shoot, if he could rise up and get some courage and fight King George, which had more military power, more money, more power and more influence than the founding fathers had, don't tell me that freedom is only yours if you're willing to fight for it, protect it, and willing to kill somebody for it. No, I'm not inciting violence. I'm just stating observable reality. Don't tell me you didn't have a choice. There's always a choice. If freedom is a choice, slavery is too. That is the argument. And you can't break the argument and say, well, I mean, they could have run away, but if they run away, they would have came after them. Oh, okay. You willing to die or you willing to kill for your freedom? How is it that Harriet Tubman, a woman, managed to free a whole lot of slaves? And allegedly, she had a brain injury. And the woman said, I could have freed 1,000 more if they only knew they were slaves. This is why people can visit and look at the Constitution and see those profound and prolific words written and exclude themselves. No one's excluding her. All men are created equal. So either you include yourself into all men or you believe that you're an animal, of which I don't believe is true. If you don't assert your freedom and protect your freedom, there's always going to be somebody stronger than you that's going to try and take it from you. The question is, are you going to let them, or are you going to show them better than you can tell them? That is the argument. You don't have to like it, but this is a discussion of cowardice versus bravery. Pick your struggle, because neither choice is easy, but one is vastly more comfortable and convenient than the other, because one is going to cost you something. Freedom always costs. If I'm not mistaken, I have an article here that talks about how many people were arrested. So a firearm was recovered on the scene. 3 people of interest in custody. So all of that damage and only 3 people are in custody and no charges have been filed so far. You want to know why? Because Letitia James and Alvin Bragg, the DAs up there, they are not interested in maintaining law and order and prosecuting actual crime. Y'all, the system is working precisely as designed. So the police already realize that they don't have anyone that has their backs and that they're not going to get any support. And so they're like, why am I going to waste my breath running after these miscreants who will lock them up and process them, and then the DA will just let them go? They're not going to prosecute the crime. This is how cultural Marxism works. The chaos is is the solution. It's the more chaos, the more the government can come in and say, see, we need more control, because look at the chaos. Instead of them just using the laws that already exist and prosecute the crime, they utilize situations like this as an opportunity for government to be bigger and to be more authoritative and to be more totalitarian. That is the goal. It's so much chaos that you're begging and screaming, please do something. And then they're like, well, we gotta come in and do something. Next thing you know, you lose more rights. You become more government dependent. And then essentially we're like China or North Korea or Russia. And I know you're like, April, that's a little extreme. Well, those are communist regimes. What do you think is going to happen? How do you think this story ends? Police say that there were 4 slashings or stabbings that took place overnight. Amid the chaos, multiple other personal vehicles were destroyed. People lit fireworks in large crowds, climbed on top of light poles. I told you, that's why I call them pavement apes. And that's not a dermal descriptor, okay? I'm not talking about how you look. I'm talking about your behavior. If you are climbing on top of light poles and jumping on top of vehicles in a city like New York City, this is an urban epicenter, I'm calling you a pavement ape, because that's how you're acting. You can be black, white, Hispanic. I don't care what ethnicity you are. You're a pavement ape. You're uncivilized. Your lawlessness should be restrained. They were climbing traffic lights, structures, and scaffolding, and large fights broke out. So that means if you have ongoing construction and people are climbing scaffolding, they're damaging property, who do you think has to pay for that? Who do you think is going to have to pay for all of this? This is going to be an excuse. Well, we got to raise the taxes because there was just so much damage and we're already in a budget deficit. So I know we said we weren't going to raise the taxes, but now we got to raise the taxes. Lord have mercy. It says streets and avenues were also overtaken by large crowds that refused to disperse, blocking vehicular traffic for several hours. In total, the NYPD said that there were 63 people arrested, Okay, that's good. Not enough, but among the charges were an assault on a police officer, criminal possession of a weapon. How? New York City has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. Y'all actually recovered a weapon? Say it isn't so. Criminal mischief, disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, and obstruction of governmental administration. Let me show y'all this. Here we go. 10 members of the NYPD were injured, including one member of the NYPD who was punched in the face and another who was struck with a glass bottle. So here they done picked up Shaquana. I don't know if that's her name. Everybody, if you know, you know. You either Shaquana or Taquayshawn. That's just the names that I give you. Okay, so be offended. I don't care. What is this? This hair on my face or something? I don't know. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know what that was. But yeah, that's what happened. Look at this. Look at this. What is happening here? How were you this overcome with joy? That this is what you're doing. Climbing on top of vehicles. Unbelievable. Total of 5 school buses were lit on fire or destroyed with bats and people jumping on them. And the school buses were being used to transport people from Manhattan to MetLife Stadium for the World Cup games. Okay, the MetLife Stadium is in Jersey. There was also a shooting at 43rd Street and Broadway where a 17-year-old boy was shot once in the foot. He was taken to the hospital by NYPD because an ambulance could not access 43rd Street as crowds completely took it over. Y'all, Fox News is on the Avenue of the Americas, and I think 42nd or 43rd. Like, this is down the street from Fox News. I was just there a couple of months ago. Hey, listen, ain't no way. I'm not dealing with this. I can't live amongst people who thinks this kinds of behavior is acceptable. I can't do it. I'm sorry. This is from my good friend. He says, sis, please address your controversial statement about slavery in Philadelphia last year for the slow people. Oh, So I was a panelist at a symposium last fall. And there was, if I'm trying to remember the context, Henry, you know I'm black and slow. Sometimes I can't remember. The discussion was talking about the ancestors and slavery and freedom. And I had mentioned that, I'm trying to remember, what did I say? I remember. I talked about slavery as it relates to the Emancipation Proclamation. Like, we didn't just wake up one day and assert our freedom. Like, we were told we were free despite our rights like, all of our rights are inalienable. If you're an image bearer of God, your rights come from God, not government. And I talked about how for the African slave, so many, obviously you had those that escaped to freedom on their own recognizance, but that was the minority. The vast majority of us, y'all, we were told that we were free, and it happened without our knowledge, our participation, or our permission. And I know that's an inflammatory statement, but think about it. Without your knowledge, most slaves were on the plantation, and there were kind of rumors circulating around here, there, and everywhere that freedom might come, but no one knew when. And as Booker T. Washington accounts, he says, I remember the day that a federal official came to our plantation, read this long sheet of paper, and essentially, he's 9. His mama's like, freedom has come. We're free now. Like, someone told them they were free. That's what I mean where I say freedom came without your knowledge, right? Someone just told you we're free without your participation, meaning if you were on a plantation, still held under the bonds of slavery, and during the Civil War, you did not run away to go fight for the Union Army in exchange for your freedom, or worse, Like some slaves that dug the ramparts and the ditches and helped the Confederacy, your freedom came without your participation. You were on the plantation and they were just like, you's free now. And you like, okay, well, what that mean? And then when I say without your permission, it's not like they came to the slaves and were like, do you want to be free? Check yes or no. It's not how it happened. So I made this statement on this panel at this symposium, and I wasn't expecting to receive a round of applause. Like, I wasn't expecting everybody to be like, you showed enough right. No, I expected there to be pushback, because what happens is for so long, we hold on to the narratives of slavery, and we talk about, I've got slave blood flowing through my veins, and we say it as if it's a flex, as opposed to saying, yeah, I may have the blood of slaves through my veins, and had my ancestors not been enslaved, I wouldn't be here in America today. But the more valiant response would have been, the blood of slaves running through your veins, but those slaves fought back, as opposed to submitting themselves to the yoke of bondage. And when I say submission, meaning submission by cooperation and saying, yeah, I don't want to rustle any feathers. They might try to kill me if I run away. So it's just better I'm going to stay here. Maybe I'll be a good slave and work my way up to the big house. I'm just saying. And I know people cannot handle this kind of commentary, because for so long you were told none of this is your fault, and you can still use the crutch of slavery to explain why you're not where you want to be, or more successful, or why bad things are happening to you and you can't get it together today, because you've been using slavery as a crutch. The purpose of my film and the goal of our film is to remove that excuse. We're removing it. We're like, no. You can't use slavery no more, because one, it doesn't explain your outcomes today. No matter how hard you try, it doesn't explain it. But more importantly, we don't judge the decisions of some of our forefathers who chose to say, listen, I'm not trying to run out in the middle of the night at the hopes of attaining my freedom. I'm just going to choose this. We don't judge it. All we're saying is stop the complaining. Stop the complaining. If you're saying, listen, it is safer for me to submit myself to the yoke of slavery, it's more comfortable for me, the risk is lower, and it's horrible and it sucks, but it is what it is, then we don't want to hear you complain. You got to pick a struggle, because you have people alive today who've never been a slave. They don't know nobody who's ever picked cotton. Like, I know people who picked cotton that are alive today, and I never hear them complain. They're like, listen, this happened to me in the past, but I am grateful for where I am today by the grace of God. It's a part of my story. They don't complain. They don't blame anybody, nor do they make excuses. It's the ones who complain that I have disdain for. Because my thing is, if you sat under that bondage and you chose to do nothing about it, do not complain. Slavery is a choice. That is the point. It's a hard word. And it's difficult to settle with the reality of that, because so many of us have been told that nothing's your fault. You had no choice in anything. Just like today, your children's school is failing. You have no other options and no choice. So you keep voting and submitting yourself to the political tyranny of Democrats who do nothing. It's not like they are purposely putting roadblocks and artificial weights in your way to prevent you from functioning in your freedom, and you keep voting for them. Slavery is a choice. I don't want to hear, well, what are the Republicans doing? That's not the question. The question is, I don't want any of these political parties to do something for me. What is it that I want? I want them to get the heck out of my way and leave me alone. Keep your paws off my guns. Keep these roads paved. Maintain law and order and get your hands out my pocket. That's what we want. We don't need you to do anything for us. Remove the artificial weight and get out of our way. That is it. It is a shift in mindset. It is a shift in worldview that average people who are not willing to examine their deeply held presuppositions about this topic, and they feel some sort of kind of way, and they are too emotionally tied to the narrative of slavery to think through what I'm saying and saying, well, I mean, if you didn't try to run, you kind of are submitting yourself to the slavery. So why are you complaining? Why are you complaining? And furthermore, you're alive today, and I don't see how you're connecting what happened to your forefathers as to what's wrong with you today. You live in the freest country during the most freest time this nation has ever had, and you're complaining? Why are you complaining? No one's superior over you. This Constitution was written with you in mind. If you consider yourself an image bearer made in the image of God, all men are created equal. If you exclude yourself from that declaration, that's on you. That victimhood that you wear as a badge of honor should be shameful, but it's not. And that right in there lies the problem.